So, when you have a child who is nagging, whining, tantruming, and having meltdowns, a common thing most of us as parents do is we take it personally. We think there's something we have done wrong and that we must be some kind of bad parent for our child to be acting this way. This is not correct information. Hi, I'm Dr. Ann-Louise. I'm a pediatric psychologist and parent coach, as well as the president and owner of a New Day Pediatric Psychology in San Antonio, Texas. So let's talk about your child's behavior and why we so often go to blaming ourselves when they're acting this way. So it's called guilt, parent guilt. That's one of the basic underlying reasons why we do it. We think that bad behavior is occurring because of something bad we've done. Bad things basically happen when bad people do things. Good things happen when good people do things. That's kind of the general nature of it. Because if we were so great as parents, our kids would behave well all the time. But because they're acting badly in this situation, we must be a horrible parent. We create these correlational, relational cause and effect kind of things, which means good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. This is poor logic because there are always exceptions to that. You could be the safest driver on the road, conscientious, aware, hands at 10 and 2, and some fool could still hit you. You could be the most faithful employee, work hard, do what you're supposed to do, show up when you're supposed to, and still get fired or laid off. You can be a faithful, loving, dedicated, loyal spouse and partner, and they may still cheat on you or leave you. There is not always a one-to-one between behavior and causation and effect. So the same goes for our overall journey as parents, as individuals, as people. We need to be very careful that the narrative we put in our head is not based on false logic. So when your child is acting the way they act, whether they act in ways that we see as good or they're acting in ways that we see as bad, take yourself out of the equation. Do not over-personalize their behavior and think it has to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. Okay? There are times when you may cause things as a triggering effect because of how you're responding or reacting to them. There's no doubt about it. You yell at your kid and it causes them to melt down. You spank them and it causes them to freak out. You reject them and then they feel like, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. And then they do things to get your attention. There's no doubt about it. There are ways that we trigger our kids and we can actually cause some of the behaviors. Totally, I get it. But do not allow your child's behavior to cause you to label yourself a bad parent because your child has decided to engage in their own level of free will and being because they are their own separate human being. Don't do it to yourself. The goal here is to be good enough parents, not perfect parents. When you try to be perfect, you're going to place way too much pressure on yourself. You're going to burn out. You're not going to engage in self-care because you're going to think that every behavior, everything your child engages in has everything to do with you. It does not. Let's change that narrative. Let's change those interactions we have with our children and behave in ways that are different. Many times that narrative comes from our own upbringing, from our own parents or grandparents, which came from their parents and grandparents. Now, it's great when the cycle is beautiful and healthy and adaptive and secure, but it's a nightmare when it's not. Let's now build that education, that awareness, and that insight so we can start parenting our kids differently. So, few tips. 1, let your child be themselves, however that looks. Silly, loud, weird, unique, quirky. Let them be how they are. Just let them be. Allow your child to feel heard, validated, and connect with them. You will find when you have times of missed connection, there will be worsening behavior. That is almost always a guarantee. And that is with every relationship, not just with parents and children. Another thing is to empathize and be present with your children. Use feeling words, smile with them, get down on their level, have prolonged eye contact. Look at them, notice all of their little itty bitty quirks and nuances of their nonverbals, their language, the way they pronounce things. Notice those things. Kids love that when people notice those things about them. And lastly, practice and rehearse the things you want to get better at. I tell this to my little kids as well as to my adults, clients that I see, and college age students, everybody. Anything you want to get better at, you got to practice. You get better at the thing you practice. So practice and rehearsal are key. So if you want to be a more patient and empathetic and connected parent, that is what you have to practice. It doesn't matter if your child is having a tantrum or meltdown. What matters is how you respond, not react to them. They will learn based on your response. Your ability to regulate yourself will rub off on them and allow them to regulate themselves as well. Pay attention to those things. You are creating a whole new generation of kids who act differently than maybe you had and you did. You have that unique opportunity right now by building that education, that awareness, that insight, and then doing things differently this time around. You can create a whole different narrative for your lineage and your family. I wish you the very best. Parenting is a tough job, but it is so rewarding when we could be good enough. I'm Dr. Ann-Louise Lockhart. Thank you so much for watching.